Welcome back to Reading Bear. Today, we will take a look at some new malicious compliance stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
First one is titled, Ticket Scalper Scalped. Back in the days when we could go to concerts, I was stuck with a couple of tickets for a sold-out gig. When we got to the venue, I sent the rest of my family in to see if I could sell on my spare tickets. Only wanted face value, $60 each, and I knew it was a sellout. It was only a relatively small venue, so only one obvious scalper in view. I asked if he wanted to buy my pair, knowing he would resell them for way over face value. He offered me $10 each, take it or leave it, or see if you can get more for them. I informed him I'd rather tear them up in front of his face than let them go that cheap. End of conversation. Within 5 minutes a taxi pulled up and a couple of folks jumped out desperate for a pair of tickets. The scalper was on them like a shot. I slowly wandered over to join their conversation, and he was just about to close the deal for a pair at $120 each ticket. I leant in and said, "Hey fellas, I've got a pair here for face value, $60 each." They were a little skeptical but walked in with me to validate that they were genuine, and paid up. "Hey Mr. Scalper, you told me try to get more. Shame it cost you your sale." Edit. For a little more context, the show was Kasabian, massive UK band playing a tiny venue in Toronto. Karma played a part, and the kind bouncer sent my wife and I to the empty upstairs. There were literally 10 people there, all of us with the best view in the house. While my 18-year-old daughter and her friend were in the 1,300-strong pit. We all agreed that this was our favorite concert of all time. I'm mid-50s and have been to countless gigs, big and small, and my daughter has seen all the greats. Very mild, Jonas Bros, Shawn Mendes, T Swift, etc. T Swift is phenomenal too, by the way. What a talent. Next one is titled, Did you know ladders have a grading system? I had been working a technician job for this small company when I was asked to do a normal, usual, nothing special job. During the course of this job, I was asked by my boss to send a picture of my work. Our relationship was already very strained by this point. In this picture I included my work and the ladder I was working on because I wasn't going to move it just for a picture to my boss. As I arrive back at the office, my boss calls me into his desk with a paper to sign saying I performed an unsafe work act. The act in question, I used a customer's ladder. Something that we as company had done for the 4 years I was there, including this very same boss. He talks to me about ladder grades, how I shouldn't have used the ladder since I didn't know its grade and how much weight it can support. And then he sends me home early and to not come in the next day as a suspension. I was upset. Luckily I know union reps from other companies that handle safety regulations. So I get a hold of the official government booklet and begin my day of study. The very first day back, my boss again asks me to take a company ladder and go do a job. I look at every company ladder and identify they are all classified as grade 3 household ladders. None within grade to support my weight of 250 pounds, let alone my tools. I break the news to my boss. Turns out none of the jobs he wanted me to do that day could be done, since he needed to instead provide ladder training that he failed to provide when I joined the company, and find a few very expensive A1 grade ladders. Next one is titled, Millionaire X refused to cordially split finances. Several years ago I went through an abrupt and ugly lesbian divorce. My ex is an heiress to a high net worth family, in the publicly known range of $600+ million USD. For 2 years prior to this split, she and I had been working individually and together with a money coach to help us communicate about money. The money coach was a trust fund kid in his 20s, like her, with a degree in psychology, who specialized in helping young adults cope and comprehend the unique terrain of extreme inheritance and its impact on interpersonal relationships. It's a ridiculously niche job, yes. In addition to helping us communicate across class differences, I found his guidance incredibly helpful in my personal development of financial literacy. Through his coaching and thanks to the concerned advice of mutual friends, who recognized the unique financial power imbalance between us. We created a financial exit plan and safety net for us, should we ever decide to break up. It was essentially an alimony agreement since my ex didn't want me working for money while we were together. Fast forward a couple of years and sure enough, she went on a prolonged vacation and decided she didn't want to come home anymore. We were living and working an unpaid medical residency abroad at the time. Considering she was subsidizing my entire life and residency abroad, I was not only heartbroken, I was super in love with her, but very concerned for my material stability. I booked a flight back to the States as soon as possible to try to salvage our relationship, and when I realized she had made up her mind, I accepted this and asked her to meet with our money coach together so we could get his support in sorting out the practical logistics of our separation and dissolution. For example, what to do about the year-long lease in another country, not to mention our joint bank account. After one failed session, in which she claimed I was manipulative for having flown back without her permission, I had bought the plane ticket utilizing a credit card she'd intentionally left in my possession and given catch-all permission to utilize. She canceled that specific credit card and refused to meet or communicate directly again. Via a mediator, I asked for the total amount we'd agreed upon in our alimony agreement and she refused. The amount was calculated to be enough for me to relocate back to the States and give me 6 months to get back on my professional income-generating feet. She told the mediator she didn't want me living or working in the state we'd been living in prior to our moving abroad, therefore she wouldn't be paying me out after all. I dug my feet in, naively believing she'd become more rational, and tried to negotiate, with no true leverage, for 6 months, after which I finally just transferred the alimony amount directly into our joint bank account and out into my own private one. Tax-free. She called me a thief, but I reminded the mediator the account was joint, so this was legal, and besides I only transferred the amount we'd already agreed upon. If she'd agreed to participate in the final money coaching together, he likely would have encouraged her to close the joint account all those months ago. Instead, she spent an additional 4 months after that being pestered by petty bills from Airbnb to HBO, to Lyft. I also paid for my therapist on her tab. My digital bills kept being charged to her cards, and she had such poor financial literacy, it took 10 months post-breakup for her to realize that my apps were still charging her myriad of other credit cards. She eventually contacted me to ask I remove one of her cards from my apps. I told her it was best for her to cancel and reissue all her various credit cards since it wasn't my problem she had such a poor awareness of her money. The financial dissolution of our relationship took almost a year to complete and cost her an extra few $1,000s in inconvenient bills when we could have handled it like adults in a couple of days. Next one is titled, "I'm Just Here to Help." Some time ago, my roommate who was working for a high-end restaurant told me that the workforce shortage was so bad that they were forced to close for the daytime service, to focus on the nights. I was working just below full-time in another restaurant as a bartender, so I figured I could help a friend and get some karma. I met with the owners and managers and explained I was here to lend a hand. This is not my main job. I want to help for the time being. I won't be here long. I've got a trip planned in a few weeks. Don't stop looking for hires, etc. They said no problem, we'll work with what we got. They were really nice and friendly. Until I got hired. I'll skip the part about my training, because there wasn't. Not enough staff. You'll learn as you do it. No problem, I've been a busboy before. I could handle Friday nights of 350 clients all by myself at my first job. And if anything, I can simply ask questions to the rest of the staff. This restaurant only hires men for the service and the support staff. I thought at first that might be cool. It was not. Never have I met more snobby, prideful, better-than-thoust, egotistical sons of a witch. I've never been treated more like crap than those 6 weeks. I got yelled at for not bringing the correct frying pan. The correct one was wider by an inch. Getting told to work faster, bringing multiple torpedoes up the stairs by a waiter who was actually waiting, arms crossed, chilling on the ramp. I got told stories of staff getting actual dishes thrown at them. The list goes on. During these weeks, I was working 6 to 7 days a week with both my jobs. The pay I was making with that side job wasn't even worth it, but I was still working hard, doing my best at every moment. I juggled shifts, took some whenever another employee needed it and I could manage. I never came in late, never quit, never argued. I always responded with yes sirs, as it was the norm. But man, was that job taking a toll on me. Good thing my vacation was coming up. I had a big vacation planned, 2 weeks on the other side of the country. Plane tickets bought, vacations cleared with my main job. When I reminded this side job about it, the manager said, "Remind me about it before I make the schedule, I'll try to see if it's possible." Yeah, I'm not asking for vacations, I'm telling you I won't be here for those 2 weeks. Well, that just won't work. We might need you, we're short-staffed. Yeah, I know, but I'm only here to help. I told you all of this when I offered you some help. That just won't do. If you don't take this job seriously, don't bother coming back. You're absolutely right, thanks. I gave him my shirt, took my bags, and never came back. Best vacations of my life. Next one is titled, I killed a tree but made my point. The office I work in has to occasionally pass on files to another office. The other office is full of a bunch of prima donnas. They insist the files be arranged in a special folder with tabs separating the sections and a cover sheet that they developed themselves that tells them everything they need to know so they don't have to read the file. These files include financial schedules, lots of schedules, often hundreds of pages. These are rarely looked at. When prepping these files, if there are more than 10 pages, I would put in the first 4 with a note saying to contact me for electronic copies of the full schedule if needed. So one time one guy decided he needed to read the schedules and completely wigs out when they are not all in the folder. All 118 pages of them. He complains to every higher up he can get to listen, never once asking me for them. I get called on the carpet by my boss who tells me to include every page of the schedules no matter what. You can see where this is going. The very next folder had over 1,000 pages of schedules. I mailed that folder to the guy in a banker's box. I got reamed out for it, but going forward my method of sending just the first few pages was approved. Next one is titled, Use the damaged strap, you got it boss. This wasn't me, but a fellow worker who managed to get us all a few hours off work. Working for a Japanese company, they had lots of health and safety procedures and lots of managers. Said worker had to use straps to lift a counterweight onto assembly line. Now these were color-coded and every month they were all swapped out for inspection. This being first of the month, we moved on to new color, orange for convenience. Now worker took new strap and noticed damage to the stitching, informed his manager and was told to use last month's straps for time being. Now the thing about these kind of companies is there's usually a couple of managers, so now a second manager came over and told him he should be using orange. He told the manager about that damaged strap but was told to do as he is told. So all swapped over to orange. Did as he was told. He lifted weight to a few inches off the ground, told everyone to step back and wait. Less than a minute later that strap gave way. But now since it's an accident on the line, investigations had to be made, interviews, witnesses. All in we had 4 hours of downtime and a manager that was suspiciously never seen again. Next one is titled, Just hit my car and we're even, okay? This one is short and sweet. I went to the grocery store and after buying all my stuff I went to the parking lot. As I was getting close to my car, another one parked next to mine and opened the door wide open, hitting my car. Hey, you just hit my card. The a-hole just turned around and said, just hit my car and we're even, okay? And walked away. Luckily there was a security guard nearby and I asked him if he witnessed what the guy said. The security guard just said, yeep, and turned away. He knew what was coming. So I pretty much gathered all my strength and kicked his door so hard with the bottom of my foot and left a huge dent across all his driver door. Just got into my car and left. I never had a citation, ticket or got contacted due to that. Last one is titled, Take away our office bins? Okay. Enjoy receiving my garbage daily. I used to work for a large bank, and we had a fairly typical setup with smaller bins in our office spaces and larger locked ones for things like bank statement or just whatever you wouldn't want getting mixed up in normal garbage for privacy reasons. A compliance area changed the rules, meaning that we weren't allowed any normal waste bins in our offices and everything had to go in the shredding bin. You can imagine how annoying this is. No office bin, no customer space bin, no lunchroom bin. The same area that created this annoying a hole rule was the department that we would send bags of our work at the end of each day via courier. Cue my malicious compliance. I started just throwing my rubbish in with the day's work. The rule didn't last long after that. Thanks for listening.